because I keep pushing them.
When there's an injustice against you or someone you love or someone you believe in, stand up. Don't sit down on them. They need you.
Welcome to Popcorn Planet's Pop Culture Justice. I am Andy Signore, and I'm so excited. We have two wonderful guests here. Welcome Eric Hunley and Steph the Alternator to the show. How are you both doing? First off, let's go with you, Eric. How are you doing? Welcome to the show.
Great. Honor to be here, man. I've checked you out from time to time and had Steph on the show at one point. Real honor.
Yeah, you guys have done some awesome stuff, and Steph spoke so highly, and then I started checking out some of your content, and happy to have you here. You've been following this case a bit more closer. Steph's been following even probably more so than me, and I'm just starting to get into it as well. And I wanted to bring some experts on to help me, because I want to say right out the gate regarding the Marilyn Manson case, look, I'm not picking a side on this. He's innocent until proven guilty, in my point of view. There have been a decent amount of women who have come forward, and I think we're at a point where we need to see what happens. Where are things going? And today is just interesting because the news has now come out breaking that a judge has tossed out one of the lawsuits against Marilyn brought on by his ex-girlfriend, Ashley Morgan Smithline, who accused him of things, that I got to be careful of saying on here. Eric, you know the rules as well on the keywords here, but some nasty stuff that was accused of. Now, what's interesting about this whole case, and I'm going to lean on you, Eric, to get there, and Steph as well. Basically, if I can sum it up as quickly as I can, basically she fired her lawyer and then didn't get a lawyer in time. And so because of that, the judge then had to dismiss her case because she failed to provide proper legal representation within the allotted time frame. Is that she was previously being represented by Jay Elwanger, an attorney, but withdrew his representation after she sent a series of bizarre text messages, which she expressed she no longer wanted her attorney. We have those, but go ahead. I see you wanting to correct me. Go ahead, Eric. What's up?
Here's the problem. It's not untrue. It just leaves a lot out. She was trying to fire him in April or March and had a bunch of text messages, and he kept going back and forth. Ashley, I don't know. Is this really you? Are you sure? Is this you? And the exchange was all about that, right? Well, then she had to appear in court in like September or October timeframe, and Elwanger asked for a continuance because she had to get mental health care, in emergency mental health care. So the Manson team said, okay, fine. Have her come back in, a set period of time later. She then vanished, essentially. And the day before she was supposed to appear for a deposition, Elwanger said, I need to be removed as her attorney. So it's really some sketchy stuff. I did like a 2.5 hour stream with Rob of Law and Lumber, breaking down that whole emergency, finding all the texts, everything through it. She even communicated with me in DMs about it, essentially saying she doesn't like me very much. But anyway.
But you're saying Ashley did?
Ashley did, yes. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I mean, are you allowed to discuss any of that? Like, what was the
summary?
summary?
I can tell you the general. I don't share DMs because I feel like that's sacred, but general
of
topic
course
was essentially, you've said mean things about me because I did body language on her.
Well, just to be clear, and I echo that. I'm just saying, was there something she wanted out there, or was this a private communications? I don't want her to, you don't have to share private communication, but whatever you're allowed to share, go ahead.
Yeah, essentially, she said, I'm a really nice person. If you know me better, you wouldn't think that way of me, and that Howard King is a really sweet guy. And
that's the lawyer?
Manson's lawyer.
So Howard,
it's weird. She turned over the stuff to Manson's legal team. And Elwanger actually tried to get sanctions against Manson's legal team. It's a crazy mess. And there's a side note there, and I need to be careful on accuracy. So I don't know the full details, but apparently there was a whole lot of evidence that was released, like a Google Drive of thousands and thousands of images from Esme Bianco's team. And it got out there, and I know that people downloaded it. And that, I think, was part of the sanctions too. It's hard to know because they were all, redacted. I mean, literally, I saw one of the documents come through, and it was black. The only thing it had was a footer and a header.
Yeah, it's interesting because we had Colonel Kurtz on who talked about that. That was she brought that up at one point, and then I think we talked about the case. There's a lot of people who are always aggressively, no, she's lying. There weren't all these documents. Again, there's so much. There's so much to break down this case. It is a much more complicated case, and I think that's why a lot of people have been hesitant. The other thing that's always interesting about this case, and I want to go to you, Steph, on just overall. So I didn't give a proper intro. Welcome, Steph. Always good to see Steph here. But it's innocent until proven guilty, guys. That's always what it is, and we got to do it. But Marilyn Manson's such an easy target. It's like, of course, everyone would think this guy and his persona is what this is. And I think a lot of people, and I even see some in the chat, yeah, I didn't know. But the more and more people are sort of uncovering this case, it does really seem like there's a lot more to it than expected. Steph, do you agree? Like, do you sense a sort of a tide turning of people starting to step up and ask more questions about this case?
Yes. And I don't want to kind of oversimplify it, but I do think a large part of that is down to the Johnny Depp case. Really, at the end of the day, this time last year, we knew that the Johnny Depp Fairfax Amber Heard case was up and coming, and the tide was totally against him. And everyone who was anyone, let's say, apart from, us lot, were all saying, oh, he's going to lose. How can he win? How can he win this, that, and the other? It just was not in his favor whatsoever. And he defied everyone's odds and everyone's expectations, because the bottom line is he was armed with the truth. And the truth got to the court in the end and allowed him to win. And through that, as an example, it's like people have now learned, well, hang on a minute, it ain't just, believe all women anymore, because guess what? Some women do lie. It does happen. And here's a prime, very high profile case of it. And here's another now prime high profile case where, not only Ashley Morgan Smithline, but a whole host of other women have come after Marilyn Manson, alleging things. And people have learned from the whole Johnny Depp situation and thought, well, hang on a minute. Let's partake in a little bit of critical thinking here. Let's actually use our brains and actually really look at these accusations and think, well, hang on a minute, do they pass the sniff test? And a lot of it really don't. Ashley Morgan Smithline in particular is very, very problematic. You see there, that People magazine, I Survived a Monster. Oh my goodness, you can debunk a shiz ton of what she says there all day long. So, for example, right? She turns round and she says, one moment, Marilyn Manson, he attacked me and damaged my nose, right? On the other side of the coin, though, same interview, she then turns round and says, he never attacked me face because I'm a model. Well, which one is it? Did he do it or didn't he do it? There was another one that I remember, and this is really just more off the cuff now, where she turns round and she says that he had carved his initials in her upper leg. But hang on a minute, you look at pictures, you can see there is a scar, but no initials. No BW for Brian Warner or MM for Marilyn Manson. There's something there, but it don't look like initials to me. And they're just two from, technically three from top of my head that I could think of with that People magazine that she did. She's extremely problematic in terms of her allegations. A lot of it don't make sense.
Yeah, it's interesting. And then, and Eric, I'm coming back to you. Like, there's also now, right? So just so we're clear as you even go through this case, like, because again, I want to be very clear. Again, he's innocent until proven guilty. However, this is only one lawsuit. There are multiple charges and allegations against him. Just because I see some people confused, I don't want that title and things to it's like he's out of the woods yet. He's not. There's still more things that he's fighting. However, he has come forward, his team, and we've reported this previously when this happened. He says there's a campaign against him. He says, led by Evan Rachel Wood, and I guess another woman, that they have been launching a smear campaign against him, trying to basically get these women to come forward and speak ill of him, including creating false FBI letters, they're alleging, etc. When you go into it, there's an argument to be made by Marilyn's side that is very it's not like, oh, well, no, this is crazy. No, he's got some very good arguments himself to dispute a lot of this. And he says that, yeah, these are false public accusations. He says that he had relationships with these women consensually. I never, all the words, any of them, as they contend, their accusations against me are unequivocally false. And she was one of those women. And now there's rumors that Eric, has she alluded or said that she felt intimidated or, asked to say any of this? Do we know that yet?
Yes. Or at least we think. She's so problematic because she's like the absolute unreliable witness, in my opinion, in terms of even her lawyer bit that I was talking about, firing the lawyer, not firing the lawyer, etc. Somebody pointed out to me, I think very cogently, that only one person can't talk in a lawyer-client relationship, and that's the attorney. So legally, he can't say anything to defend himself, and she can go all out and say anything in the world she wants. That's her privilege. He doesn't have it. So I do want to put that in there right now. But there were texts that were released, or Instagram DMs, if you will, where she said that she was kind of going along with it. She was talked into it. But then she claimed her phone was hacked and stolen. And it just goes on and on with her. Steph, you were talking about her carving. That was probably in Phoenix Rising. And remember, she was doing that as a one-up for somebody else that was talking about being captured or held. I don't know if it's Evan Rachel Wood. I can't remember the sequence, but they kind of go back and forth between them, one-upping each other.
Well, there was the, if I remember rightly, Ilma Gore had turned around and said that Marilyn Manson had, let's say, damaged her with World War II bad guy memorabilia. Let's put it that way.
That was Evan Rachel Wood talking about it. And Evan Rachel Wood, according to many witnesses,
no, because didn't Esme sue Marilyn Manson, detailing that there was the World War II bad guy like knife and the whip or something like that. And then Ashley Morgan Smithline then was like, yeah, that happened to me too, blah, blah, blah. Like using it for like shock value, sympathy, one-upping each other, that kind of thing.
Right. Well, there's the kneeler. You see, it gets confusing which one, because Evan Rachel.
Yeah, tell me about it.
And ERW was very much into collectible paraphernalia, if you will, from World War II.
Evan Rachel Wood was?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's many, many, many shots of her saluting people in particular ways at the concert. She claims that that was her trying to get along and that he essentially forced her to do that, etc. But there's a lot of weight going against that, a lot of witnesses going against that. Ilma Gore, whose name has come up a few times, is not actually one who has ever met Manson in person, and they did not have a relationship. Ilma Gore was the lover to Evan Rachel Wood, allegedly. After she was dating Evan Rachel Wood's assistant, she traded up, from what I understand. Ilma Gore has a very interesting and storied history that goes all the way back to possibly being the progenitor for Jussie Smollett. And that was, she claimed that because she did a painting of former President Trump that was disparaging of him and dangly bits, that she was beat up and showed up everywhere with a black eye. And her sister, her twin sister, see, this gets very complex quick, and I'm trying to
and this is only one part of it.
This is only one part of it, but it's all kind of relevant, and I will pull it back around because it gets into the main core or thrust of this. Ilma Gore's twin sister, Brighton Gore, put forth a deposition, a statement to the Manson legal team with the iPad that she got from Ilma, On this iPad, there were things like the FBI letter that was being drafted that Evan Rachel Wood used in a custody dispute with her husband, Jamie Bell, over their child, stating that she had to take the child to Tennessee, not keep him in California, because she formerly dated Marilyn Manson, who was supposedly under FBI investigation. All, I believe, not true. Now, I have to be careful because the FBI does not reveal if they are investigating or not, so I cannot say with absolute certainty, but I can tell you that the letter had problems in it where essentially later news is Jamie Bell called the number on the letter for the FBI agent, and it turned out to be a friend of Marilyn Manson, former friend of Evan Rachel Wood, who was not in the FBI, had nothing to do with the FBI. The FBI agent was interviewed and stated, no, I didn't have anything to do with them, or, did not draft any kind of letter and was not working with them. So take that, wherever you want to go with it. But it is a bad thing. Why is there an FBI letter? And the funniest part of all this was it got revealed about the letter being on the laptop, and Ilma Gore essentially tweeted and said, that's copyrighted content. So she was claiming work product for the stuff that people were essentially saying, you're putting together false authorities and things like, false statements, blah, blah, blah. And she's claiming work product. And it's kind of a weird psycho mess because Ilma Gore and her sister are at odds, and there's a whole track that you can go down there, another rabbit hole. But fortunately, her sister Brighton has managed to get back to Australia, where she is living, I believe, with some friends.
Fascinating. I mean, there's always more to the story the more you unpeel and learn and actually get all sides of things. And that's why due process is important and why Marilyn deserves his day in court. But it does seem like most of the internet, a lot of the internet is just, or people in general, I think, have signed off on him because it's, again, the persona right on stage. And the things I've learned from people I've spoken to who've met him, he's not that way at all in real life. That's always what everyone has told me and alerted me. I've not met him myself, but it is apparently all an act. And so the extreme beautiful people thing is not really what he is. He's a lot more nerdy and calm and not what you'd
Alice
expect
Cooper.
at all. And exactly.
Like, yeah.
I always think of Wayne's World where he's, when they meet him backstage, Alice Cooper. Yeah, no, exactly. So it's like, you can have that. That is a real thing. You can have that persona. And so it's a shame if everyone has sort of signed off on him and there is more to it. And we'll see what happens. Again, at the same time, we need to hear more. There's opportunities for more of these women to have their day in court as well. We'll see what happens, and we'll keep updating it. But back to this lawsuit, which has been tossed, which is this is a win for Team Maryland, no doubt. Thoughts on this specific case and this specific accuser, Ashley Morgan Smithline. These texts, I mean, we see a couple of them here, and it's weird. It is indeed weird, and I'm curious, like, just to see for some of it.
Well, you can see there with Jay, well, right where you just were. Here we go. It's if you read it, it can be interpreted as a threat. This is a really, really big, bad lawsuit. You really, really need me to be your lawyer. Are you sure you know what you're talking about? If you read it, there's that line in between. And where this whole thing gets creepy is that Jay Elwanger is also Esme Bianca's lawyer. Now, that I've always had a problem with. So from the day one, it's like FBI letter, big problem. All of them dropping charges on the same day. Coordination, big problem. Two of them sharing the same lawyer, big problem. These things kind of bother me, especially when I hear the same story parroted, the same keywords parroted between them, and then they're sharing, it's like, how much of this is being remembered and how much of this is being created? I really...
Yeah, or coached, exactly. Like, you did a really good interview, but just to plug Eric too, sorry, stuff, but you did a really good interview with Dr. Soam. I was watching your sort of forensic psychologist, Dr. Soam Das, talking about the case and a lot of this stuff, and it was very fascinating to watch. I do encourage you not only watch, but going over to Eric's channel, subscribe, and get more information from him. Yeah, you were sort of discussing this, how people can, coach each other, and you can almost research a lot of the terms, and that you felt some of these victims, alleged victims, were all, repeating a lot of those same things. And it's interesting. At the same time, I don't want to forget my thought here. Yeah. And it's like, because I'm like, well, where do these texts come from? It is almost like Ashley's showing that her lawyer was clearly pushing her to go a certain way that she was uncomfortable with, is what the vibe you get from these. And the lawyer is trying to paint her negatively in a way, almost just in case they do get released, to sort of say, this must not be you. Who is this? Playing, there's a lot going on here besides, like, it is kind
Please
of wonky, but
let's talk. Call me.
Yeah.
Let's have a phone call. Why not text? Hey, it's a writing. You can refer back to it. Why phone?
yeah, it's strange. Why, like, you didn't want proof of what it is what that seems like? I don't even know. Is it like attorney-client privilege? How did this get out? What is your theory here, Eric? Because this is a lawyer. He shouldn't have been leaking these texts, right? That would get him in immense trouble.
She gave it to Manson's team.
So she gave these texts to the Manson team.
It's crazy. Yeah. And that's where a lot of this went bonkers. It's like, well, wait a minute. She gave it to the enemy. And she essentially put out, in my opinion, that she had no control whatsoever with this relationship, didn't know where else to go. So she fed it to the Manson team.
Like she was feeling, and again, now we're in speculation, whatever, but there seems to, reading between the lines, it almost feels like, given the narrative that Marilyn's team's putting out there, that she was being coerced or coached by people with ulterior motives. Is that what you think's happening here?
I think that
Steph's like, yep.
there's one lawyer with two clients, right? One of his clients is a Game of Thrones actress who's famous. The other client is a model who I'm sure is famous in her own right, but not so much. Why is one of them seemingly more neglected than the other?
Yeah.
By the way, another part of Ashley Morgan Smithline in that DM exchange, if you watch her interview, and we did a body language analysis on it, and that's one of my favorite ones with Spidey, because I kind of hid information till the end. I do that sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch her in that interview with her lawyer next to her, by the way.
We have it here. I can play a little bit of it. Yeah, this is.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Bombarded by Facebook messages, by emails, by Skype calls that I don't know if he remembered he did all of these different things, but we first connected over a Skype call in the summer of 2010. I was modeling in Bangkok, Thailand.
Now, if you look,
Ashley,
she has an interesting demeanor about her. And yeah, it was a view, sorry. She just seems odd. Well, in the DM exchange, she later said that it was hacked. So I don't, again, I don't know. She's
the DM. Sorry, not to interrupt, but you're talking about the texts.
No, this is another DM exchange that somebody was talking to her on Instagram, and I can tell you she DMs different people. She's DM'd with me.
Just so I was following. Okay,
as an example, but she stated on it she was on ketamine. In that interview, which is a very interesting thing, if that's the case. I do think that her demeanor and the way she acted in the interview with her lawyer just sitting there next to her, that's Jay Elwinger, by the way.
That was my my first experience, and then from there it was the abuse just worsened. I was dehumanized. I was degraded. I was treated like
this is the thing. Sorry to interject here, but there's two things that spring out to me. I'm no body language expert, but I watch a lot of those kind of programs and learned a couple of things. Firstly, she's proper like leaning away from a lawyer. To me, that signals like distrust, trying to kind of break away. The other thing as well is at certain points you see her shrug like this. Mm-hmm. And when you see people, when they're talking and they shrug like this, I've learned through these programs, it means they have no confidence in what they're saying. Like they're like this. It's like, I don't know. That's what I remember in terms of watching these programs. It's like shrug is like you think about, you don't know. She has no
It's either
confidence
that
in
or
what she's saying.
it's either that or I don't have anything else to tell you.
Mm.
Like I'm done. So it can be I don't know. I have no confidence. You're right on the no confidence here, in my opinion, though, because if you listen, she also is ending her statements like a question.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
more
I did notice that.
yes, more and there's an up tilt that is going with that. So in this case, it's there. But I did want to say the other reason for a shrug would be kind of like don't know what to tell you.
Mm.
I mean, she's clear. She's nervous, which could be a several things. You know, again, who knows? But she's now pulled the case. Now, to be clear, she's pulled the case, and I'm confused. Can she still get a lawyer and refile a case, or is this now? Do you think done, Eric? What's the future hold for this?
It was dismissed without prejudice. She can refile, but I doubt she will, but she can. Yes.
Right. But it is, again, interesting who fires their attorney and then releases the text with the attorney to the other team's attorney. That's a very telling and turn of events. That, again, is why I think it's important we all look at this case a little bit more closely, because I know myself included, I'm just trying to be impartial and stay out of this and not just say an opinion either way, because you know, they deserve their day in court. And that's really how it's supposed to work. And he's innocent until otherwise. Yeah, these exchanges are troubling, and some of the accusations from the other side are troubling. But yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see what happens next. But clearly a big turn of events of things in this case. Steph, any other things you want to add on this?
Yeah, so Eric earlier on, you know, highlighted, and I kind of did a little bit as well, like the organization of it all. With these accusers, when you look into it, it's scary. This didn't come organic, in my opinion, conspiracy theory or whatever. This was organized. This was premeditated. I mean, we can go into it afterwards. What I'm about to say, Google it. So Evan Rachel Wood and Ilma Gore, they were working together on what's called the Phoenix Act, and that comes into law. It's all kind of pretty much signed off in the October. Once that then happens, around about that time, there were emails that were sent out, if I remember my research rightly, from Ilma Gore, where she were emailing certain women, and there's this checklist. And I still have it in my head. I can still see it in my head, this checklist. And it's literally, you were in contact with Marilyn Manson. Did he do this to you? Did he do this to you? Did he do this to you? Tick it all off. Put your name and telephone number on, and we'll contact you. I'm working on behalf of Phoenix Trust, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. Like, literally, it's not, okay, you're in contact with Marilyn Manson. Did anything happen? No. It's this checklist, as if trying to feed or trying to manipulate or coerce someone to say, well, that kind of happened, so I'm going to tick that. And do you know, very, very odd. And then it all culminates in February, where they all literally on the same day, within 24 hours, they all then come out with all these accusations. And they waited until after the Phoenix Act was sorted. Extremely scary how all that came about. So yeah, I would say highly organized, highly sus.
Agree.
Eric, final thoughts from you?
I would say, because there are so many people, I never want to discount a possible victim out there. I think that every one of these cases needs to be looked at on their own merits. And so far, every one I have looked at falls apart.
Well, still a lot to break down, but there you go. I appreciate this insight. We're going to keep talking about plenty more. We're not done, but I wanted to clip this for YouTube's sake, so you guys have at least this coverage. And again, make sure you support Eric over on YouTube. You can find him there at Eric Hunley. And let me make sure I also have Steph the Alternate up. Make sure, there it is.
Is that 50K Steph the Alternate?
Steph, the alternate 51.6K. Go subscribe to her, join both channels, support them. Subscribe to this one while you're at it. Hit the bell for all alerts so you get notified whether you're watching live or on the replay. Smash the like button, leave a comment, help the engagement to get the word out because we are trying to get the word out. And we want you guys to make up your own mind on this as well. But lots more coming on this case, it seems, and we'll keep you updated as it comes. Again, I'm still there letting the due process happen. As we get more evidence that comes forward, I'll be sharing it with you as well as our opinions. But in the meanwhile, there is some interesting developments here that I'm happy to bring to you. Well, there you go. Another show. That was so much fun. I want to thank my guests, Steph the Alternerd and Eric Hunley, for all the fantastic conversations we had. You guys, please go subscribe to Steph as well as Eric Hunley. I'll put his link in the description if you want to show him some love. Please do. And if you haven't already, hit that join button. If you hit the join, you'll catch the full replay of our full conversations. Become a member. It supports the channel and allows you to watch. Better yet, hit that 3 little dots and do the super thanks. We're going to be telling you guys to do that more. It's another way to help the channel or all the channels you watch. Always support your creators. And thank you guys so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your night. We'll be back with more content for you tomorrow here on Popcorn Planet. Woo. Bye, everybody.
Laters.